In this video, we'll discuss one of Mari's most important features, painting. If we grab the paintbrush tool, let's have a look at some of the options in the painting palette. This is a really important palette that we discussed a little bit in the last video, but it has a lot of other functions and features that can catch out first-time users. If we scroll down to the projection settings, we have this sub-palette called projection. Here we have a few key functions. First, let's talk about bake behavior. This is what Mari does when you move the camera. By default, it is set to auto bake and clear. This means that when I move around my scene, Mari will take anything that's on the buffer, paint it down into my current channel, and then clear the buffer. You can change this to only clear so that it no longer bakes automatically, or manual, so that you can freely move around your scene with the paint data still on your buffer. I occasionally use this when I have something painted that I want to stamp down multiple times onto my model. Next up, projection. By default, this is set to front. If you change this to through, then the paintbrush will not just paint the front faces of your model, but anything in line behind. Usually, I'll just leave this to default, but occasionally it's very useful to be able to paint everything. Project on is the final setting that we'll look at here. This decides what Mari does and doesn't paint on. The default setting is to all, so it will paint on any and everything. Then I can use the selection tool to pick whichever bit of the model I want to focus on before painting, making sure I get no excess paint in areas that I don't want it. If you have paint on your model, you may assume the eraser tool would be the way to remove it from your layer. Unlike other programs, that's not quite how Mari works. The eraser tool will only remove paint still on your paint buffer that has not yet been baked down. If we want to remove baked down paint from a layer, then you have to go up to the toolbar at the top to the option box where it says mode. If you change it to clear here, then any brush stroke you now do will remove paint rather than add it. Your paint buffer before changing the mode. When you're ready to paint again, just make sure you hop back to the normal blend mode. That can really catch people out. Finally, let's talk brushes. So far I've been using the default brush, but if we head over to our shelf palette, we have some presets with different settings. So we have a tab for basic brushes, but we also have one for organic and hard surface ones too. So I'm going to pick one from the organic tab for now. When painting, you can see the difference it makes already. If we head over to the Tools Properties palette, you can further edit these settings of the brush. Say, for example, you want a little bit more spacing between the strokes, or you want to change the flow, or any of these settings. There's also a steady stroke attribute further down, something that I find really useful. I'm not going to cover every setting in this video, as there are too many to go over, and if you've ever used any other painting software, then you'll be familiar with a lot of these settings. I'd recommend playing around with them just to create a cool brush and get used to them. So if you've made a brush that you like, and you want to save it, you just have to drag the icon from the toolbar up here and then just drag and drop it into the personal tab in the shelf palette. And then when you save the project, that brush will be kept along with it. So that's some of the most important features of painting in Mari. In the next video, we're going to have a look at projecting and the paint through tool. See you there.